Hello everybody, hope you're doing marvelously well. We're big, we're bad, and we're back with another review of a plugin that really seems freaking cool to me. This is a reverb plugin called the Perfect Room. It's a new discovery for me, and what I love about it is it seems to be everything that I want in a reverb plugin, all in one and really, really straightforwardly laid out. Let's check it out. If you haven't already, please go to producelikeapro.com. You can sign up for the email list, get a whole bunch of free goodies. So this reverb is by a company called Denise Audio, and the plugin is the Perfect Room. And one of the wonderful things about this plugin is you can enter to win one of 3 copies of it. You know what to do. You can enter down below to win one of 3 copies of the Perfect Room by Denise Audio. So looking at it, the basic controls that come up here seem really, really straightforward. You've got an input gain, an output gain, a mix control, a high pass filter, a low pass filter, a delay, which is just a pre-delay when the reverb comes in, very straightforward, a tail, the length of the reverb, and a width control. So really, really straightforward. We can mess with that and see what those all do. So we've soloed the snare here, and let's just see what the default is. Now, because it's an auxiliary, I'm going to make it 100% mix. This is really straightforward, up and down, like this. So I like that. Just click on it and drag it up and down. So now we're on 100% effect. So here's the before. Here is now with 100% effect, just default settings. So a good, straightforward, works immediately, sounds good reverb. Let's mess around with the tail. Let's see if I can get this to be just a little shorter. I don't know. I like 3/4 of a second. It's kind of my default. So I'll go around about there. So you can see there, I turned it up, brought the tail down, made it shorter. Bypass it. No verb. Put that in with the rest of the drums. Good. Straight ahead reverb. So before we get really deep into this, I want to just open up and use it because I love obviously tweaking things, and we'll talk about all the tweaking, but let's just see if it sounds good on things. Next thing I'm going to do is we'll create a kick verb. Now with this kick verb, I'm going to go shorter again, go to like 3/4 of a second, something like that, maybe a little bit longer. We'll have a listen, but I'm going to utilize the high and low pass filters because on my kick verb, I don't want excessive low end building up. So let's listen to it as a default. Let's highlight a section here. First of all, it's a good sounding verb. So let's put the mix on 100%. Let's go to high pass at about 600-700, right about here. And we'll bring the low pass down. So we're going to get rid of some of the high highs, which we don't need either on the kick. So we got 672 hertz to 3.7 kilohertz. Let's have a listen. This is everything else default. Mute that. That's great. Really straightforward, really simple. Open it up, does the job. Okay, what fun features does it have though? It's got to have more fun things than that, and we know it does. Now I've got an electric guitar that's printed here, which had a lot of delay effect on it. It's really mid-rangey. Give it a listen. It's pretty good. You can really hear like the amp driving, and there's quite a lot of compression on it as well, all of which is okay, but let's have some fun with it. Again, I'm going to come up a little bit, 400 or 500. We don't need that. I might leave the top at about maybe 5-6K. The mix is not going to be on 100% anymore because I want to hear it mixed. It's now on the channel itself. So let's have a listen. So I'm going to mess with this natural, triangle, and square. Let's have a listen what they all do. Okay, triangle. You can definitely hear like almost like under there, like a delay onto it. I honestly don't know why they call it the triangle, but it sounds good. Square. Oh, wow. So it's like a regeneration. So 3 very different reverbs. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take a little bit of a loop here. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to each 3 of these. I've created a little loop and we'll hear what it does to the tail of each. Here's the natural. A natural sounding reverb. Here's the triangle. And here is the square. I like that. I like the way that regenerates at the end. It's really, really cool. Let's go on to full mix. I want to hear that square on full mix. So this is only the effect. It's got like a very slow attack. It's pretty tasty. Back to the natural. Expect, and the triangle. I like that a lot. Obviously, with our tail, we can have some serious fun with that last one. Great. Now there's a width control here, which will take us from a mono source to a stereo source, which is pretty tasty, because if you want to put this on like just a kick or just a snare or just a vocal and you want to put it directly on the vocal, for instance, you can keep that verb to be really tight and narrow and focus the vocal. I've been getting a lot into doing mono reverbs under things like vocals. I think it sounds really great if you want to go for a retro sound, because bear in mind, if you want 50s and 60s reverbs, first of all, most of those records, especially the 50s, of course, were done in mono, and even most of the 60s records up to mid-late 60s were all mono as well, with a splattering of stereo stuff. But the idea of a stereo reverb was pretty slim to none. So a mono reverb is a really, really great way to recreate a retro kind of sound. Let's put that quickly on a lead vocal to prove that point. So here is the lead vocal, and we're going to take the mix down to about 23% there. I'm going to open the top end up, going to high pass up to about 400, and we're going to experiment. We'll take the width right down.
Go off in the dark unknown, where only fools and lovers go to hide. Promise you won't let me go alone.
It's really nice. Obviously the high and low pass, etc., only affects the reverb you're using. It's not affecting the lead vocal. So I can make that reverb really dark, but the vocal will still be bright, cutting through. Have a listen.
Go off in the dark unknown.
So talk about like retro reverb. That's really freaking awesome. So far, I'm loving how everything is in here and it's simply laid out to use just a reverb. I have many, many choices in reverbs, and so often I end up just going back to the stock reverb in my DAW because I know what it does and it's dumb. And then I end up using plugins to wipe off the top and the bottom. Then I end up using things to duck. And even though some reverbs have most of these functions, there's always a lot of complexity. Obviously, this is designed specifically to be simple.
Go off in the dark unknown.
I love that. Okay, let's keep exploring then. So now we've messed around with this. I'm not going to put any pre-delay on at the moment, but what I do want to try is the ducker. That means I can turn the reverb up so it's super loud or louder, but have it sidechain to the lead vocal itself, meaning every time he sings, have the reverb come down, duck. And then after he finishes the last phrase, boom, it comes up. So let's mess around with that. So I'm going to leave it on the default. Let's see what happens. 60%.
Go off in the dark unknown, where only fools and lovers go to hide. Promise you won't let me go alone.
Pretty tasty. Let's get out of that for a second. Let's turn up the mix.
Go off in the dark unknown, where only fools and lovers go to hide. Promise you won't let me go alone.
Pretty tasty. Pretty tasty. So really quick, easy to use ducker there. I didn't mess with anything. Obviously, I can bring the threshold in a little lower. Let's see what happens.
Go off in the dark unknown, where only fools and lovers go.
Let's go the opposite way, so it's barely working.
Go off in the dark unknown.
That's nice. I actually like it about there. So what it's doing now is it's definitely ducking, but it's not ducking as aggressively. You've got attack and release settings there. You can change the ratio of the compression. All of it's really, really straightforward. But let's have some fun. Let's go to a piano. So now I'm going to drag this down. Definitely answering a situation there. I've got a lot of these open, and so far DAW is fine with it. No ducker on. There's a shimmer and a detune. We've got reverb. Let's bring it back to, say, 50%. The high passing can be at 230, open up the top a bit on the piano. Let's go to about, 75% width. Bring the tail down, have a listen to this on piano. Nice. So a great, straightforward, easy to use reverb. All I did was high pass it a bit so there wasn't too much low end. Great. What else can we do with it? Well, let's have some fun with it. There's the shimmer control, which I think is going to be fun in a second, but I want to go for the detune. So it looks like here they're doing like tape functions. You got the wow and the flutter, which they're calling shake, and the speed. So let's mess with it. I like that a lot. On a really simple piano part, I think it's instant 9-inch nails, isn't it? What I very often do is detune my reverb ever so slightly, just so there's a separation between the main track and then the reverb sort of sits below it, because if you detune it, it sort of helps push it forward and then gives it some space in the mix. It's really kind of nice. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Okay, let's try out the shimmer. Oh, so it's adding literally a low octave and a high octave into the reverb. I've done many reverb tricks videos where you've seen me put octaves either below or above into a reverb and then fed it against the original track, just to give it a little bit of weirdness. Sometimes I'll take the DI and put it through a whole different chain and reverb and detune it and mess with it, and then take the mic track and treat it differently. Here I can do it all in one go. Let's do something quickly. So I'm going to go back to the mix. So we're going to go 100% and see what it's doing. It's like turning any sound into a pipe organ. Now with the ducker on, the initial attack means that it's just ducking the verb as well. So I love this. Take the mix down and blend it in from 0 coming in. Quite boring on its own. Now I'll put it back in. I love showcasing these kind of plugins. You've seen us do quite a few of these recently. It's wonderful to see companies coming in and taking basic problems and solving them. Having a reverb that has all of these different functionalities all in one, but really straightforward, is rather nice to say the least. I'm going to try one more thing on this piano because we've got this section here. There's a bar of 1 chord, 2 chords per bar. Basically, it gives us an opportunity to try this. So there is the flip, which is, of course, a reverse. Great reverse verb. Nice. I'm going to take off all of the crazy effects that I did and just hear just the stock flip. I'm going to go back to natural, and this is the reverse. All right, before those reverbs, this is what I have. And now this is what I have for those verbs on. All from one plugin. So I've got basically effectively a chorusing effect if I need it with that whoa and flutter and the tape emulation sound. I've got reverse effects, making bog standard chords just hitting on downbeats more interesting. Pretty fantastic. There's one function we haven't looked at, and that's really the split function here. And the split allows you to go from mono to stereo. Guitar. So it's an interesting function. It means I can take my reverb that's in mono and make it stereo and vice versa. Oh, wow. So there's a lot of great presets here. Isn't it interesting that it can come with a one basic reverb, have all of this controllability about it, you know, because I haven't even touched the pre-delay here. Let's go for that. Let's bring that in. It's really smart. It's come up with a good sounding reverb and then have a ton of functionality, as opposed to scanning through 147 different styles of reverb to find one I like and then pretty much use that same one over and over again. It is interesting the way that, you know, most of us think. You think of the days of, you know, consoles and hardware only, everything was just set up. And you'd come in and you'd maybe tweak ever so slightly. You'd find a purpose for something and then you'd tweak it and go, wow, this is the best compressor I've ever heard on a lead vocal. And it would stay in your vocal chain. I mean, you look at all the great mixers, you know, behind them, you see racks of gear of all these VU meters go, all with labels on them, what they're for. And come back a year later and all the labels are on the same compressors. And they maybe went in there and tweaked. All the reverbs, there's reverbs that they like, the 3 settings. There's a reality that we find something we love and use it. So find a really good sounding reverb like they've done here, but then give it tons of functionality so that I can high pass it and low pass it, Abbey Road technique, put it on the kick drum, take away the low end so it doesn't go blow up and make things sound too tubby. I could put it very narrow bandwidth really quickly and simply on a bass if I wanted just like a little nosy kind of bass reverb for a, you know, a Motown kind of thing. Because so many of those records that we love were recorded in one room, you might want to put little touches of verb on stuff. It's a really, really simple, great sounding reverb with functionality up the yin yang, but I managed to figure it out in a couple of minutes. So that's the great thing. And like a couple of other plugin companies we've recently been reviewing, this product falls exactly in line with the kind of thing that I want. I want to open up something and make it work and make it sound good really quickly. And I want to think if I just open that one plugin, then it's going to do a reverse for me. It's going to do different types of reverbs. Not only that, I can high pass it, low pass it. I've got the shimmer effect, which is really nice, adding the low octave and the high octave. I've got the detune function. And of course, I got the ducker, providing us with the ability to sidechain compress. Now with those 3 completely different styles of reverb here, one the natural one the triangle one, which seems to have a delay, and then the square, which seems to have this regeneration feature. That's fantastic. The flip is the reverse. The split allows you to go from mono to stereo, and the flat control here underneath gives us all of these different verbs. Let's go back here onto the vocal, drag this down, and let's hear what it sounds like on all of these different reverbs. The last thing for us to check.
Go off in the dark unknown. Go off in the dark.
I love it. Just that delay that we put on is just absolutely fantastic.
Go off in the dark unknown. Go off in the dark unknown.
The extra large bright reverb.
Go off in the dark unknown.
Definitely not lying about that being bright. This one's the bright, but not extra large.
Go off in the dark unknown.
Next is back to the flat, so we can see where we came from.
Go off in the dark unknown.
Pretty tasty. Then dark.
Go off in the dark unknown.
I like that a lot. That will get a lot of use. And the dark XL, extra large.
Go off in the dark unknown.
That is amazing.
Go off in the dark unknown. Go off in the dark unknown.
Wow.
Where only fools and lovers go too high. Promise you won't let me go alone.
Wow. That's really, really cool. Really, really cool. So there you go. A very straightforward, very easy to use reverb. I do like the graphics. I like how done they are for me, how straightforward. I love the fact that I can see the basic signal up here.
Go off in the dark unknown. We're only fools in.
That's a really nice graphic that I hadn't even thought about. You see the dry signal here is the gray and the pink is the affected. So obvious.
Go off in the dark unknown. We're only fools and lovers go too high. Promise you won't let me go
It's a really nice graphic. As I was bringing it up, you can see the gray comes down, the pink comes up.
Go off in the dark unknown, where only fools and lovers go to hide. Promise you won't let me go alone.
Take the width down.
Go off in the dark unknown.
I'm going to take some of that excessive low off, and I like it, but I'm going to take a bit of it out.
Go off in the dark unknown, where only fools and lovers go to hide. Promise you won't let me go.
Wow. It's a German company, so it's in euros, but you can buy it for 53 whopping dollars. It's on sale at the moment. It could be a one and done reverb. You've got all your stock reverbs. If this is just a first step up to get a reverb that does a lot of functionality, or you just want a solid reverb that you can go to all the time and use on mixes and know that it does all of the things that you require. Very straightforward. Again, I love the simplicity. I love this gray, blue, and the pink. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Every effect that I could possibly want. Great work, Denise Audio. Really fantastic. The perfect room. And don't forget, you can enter to win one of 3 copies of this. There'll be a link below to enter to win. Thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you, Denise Audio, for coming up with really, really great, straightforward, easy to use, and pretty smart, pretty intelligent plugin, to say the least. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing, everybody. Please leave a bunch of comments and questions below. If you've already used this, let us know what your experiences are, what you like it on, what does it sound great on. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. See you all again very, very soon.